window there. So occasionally I might put something in the chat window. So if you want to keep an eye on your chat, I'll put some links in there as we go along. And also just to let you know that if you have any questions, put them in the chat and they will go to Gary or I, and we'll be able to look at those. And I'm sure Lucy's going to have some time in the end for questions to be answered. I will also turn on closed captioning. And just to let you know, as we get going here, I'd like to prefer everyone to keep their mics off, just so there's no disturbances for our presenter. And with that, I'll let Gary, he's our host for the evening, and he will go ahead and give you some introduction information and introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Harvey. Now, Harvey Abernathy is our technical host, and he'll monitor the activities of our Zoom sessions this morning. All right. Good morning. Welcome to ESCOM's Spotlight Presents, which is focused on Home Match Marin this morning. I'm Gary Gonzer, the president of ESCOM. This is an exciting time with us now because College of Marin starts its fall term next Monday. And it's the perfect time as people come back to the campus to talk about Home Match. So our presenter today will be Lucy Ashley. She's the program director for Home Match Marin. She'll take us through the program in Marin and answer questions at the end of her talk. Now, Home Match connects people with extra room in their homes with individuals looking for an affordable living option in Marin. Basically, homeowners get the opportunity for increased social connection and income while helping people live in our community at perhaps a reduced cost. So Home Match is celebrating 1 year in Marin, although it has other programs in different areas, very successful programs in the Bay Area and California. Director Lucy Ashley has 14 years of experience working with nonprofits and building healthy communities. She will take us through the program details. Please help me welcome Lucy Ashley. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, everybody.
Oops. Sorry.
So, thank you for that introduction. Let me go ahead and share me. I just wanted to make a quick note there, and that Home Match Marin is actually our oldest county with Home Match. So we've been just over 11 years in Marin County here.
Oh, wonderful. My mistake. I'm sorry. Good.
So, I'm just share my PowerPoint here. So, does everybody see the
Yes, very clear.
Okay. So Home Match is a part of Front Porch. That is our parent company, and Front Porch operates market rate and affordable housing retirement communities throughout California. And then it is a nonprofit, and it has a community services division with 6 programs that are serving 4 spheres of work. So that's social connections, nutrition, creative engagement, and housing. Those programs' names are Well Connected Espanol, Social Call, Creative Spark, Ruth's Table, Market Day, and Home Match. Home Match is the housing piece of those programs. And then the other programs are touching on things like Social Call, connects folks. It's like kind of like pen pals, but over the phone. So it connects volunteers with seniors who have phone calls weekly as a social connection. Well Connected has all sorts of virtual programs and meetup groups. It was actually doing these kinds of virtual meetups and all doing on Zoom. many others. Predominantly
Hey,
serve.
Lucy,
Can you hear me? Do I need to speak louder?
yeah, your voice
Okay.
dropped off there quite a bit.
I'll make
We
sure
can't
to.
hear you.
Sorry about my microphone there. So I was just giving a little background about the community service programs. So just quickly, Social Call connects volunteers with older adults who have calls every week as a connection. Well Connected has meetup groups, all virtual, doing everything from music, storytelling, things like that. Market Day has, they bring markets to senior centers and senior living facilities and sell fresh produce at or below market, etc. And Home Match is just the housing piece of those spheres of work. So, and yes, please do tell me if at any point I'm not projecting that. Sorry about that. So for us, what is home sharing? It's support we do is supporting renting a room in a home, apartment, or ADU in-law. ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. It's a technical term. There is a lot of kind of gray area in between ADU and in-law and people's understanding. They can be kind of understand interchangeably. ADU is more of an official permitting term. It can provide economic support through increased income for home providers through rent and affordable rent for seekers, and social support to combat social isolation and support aging in place through companionship, task exchanges, and increased social connections. So I know this is a bit dense, but it's just a lot of very interesting effects about the facts about the economic benefits of home sharing. Basically, looking at, as we know too well, the housing crisis in the Bay Area. The average cost of a studio in Marin County is hovering around $2,000 to $2,200. And so home sharing can be an affordable option for lower income households. And then we see the Census Bureau projects that the population over 80 will grow to nearly 24 million by 2035, doubling from 2016. And many of these older adults have extra rooms in their homes and are rent burdened, which can make home sharing a viable option for addressing economically motivated housing instability. And finally, we can't build fast enough. Again, in this county, it's estimated that building one unit of affordable housing costs about $1 million. So home sharing can help access existing housing stock in a cost-effective manner. And then this is just looking at the social benefits, especially for older adults. So looking at sort of some of the negative effects that are, being accepted due to social isolation. Because of COVID, social isolation was actually looked at a lot more seriously more recently by a lot of different officials. And so there's a lot more hard data about it. And it's just looking at how home sharing can have that added benefit, not just economic, but also health-wise. Social isolation significantly increases a person's risk of health risks, such as it can be the same, rival of smoking, obesity, and physical inactivity. Can be associated with risks of dementia. Loneliness can lead to heart failure, things like this. So, and a lot of these facts are also, what we pull out to use for this advocacy side of things when we're talking to folks about and policy sides. We're talking about the benefits of home sharing. So what do home sharing programs do, especially here at Home Match? Foster sustainable home sharing relationships. We have a personalized matching that's based on lifestyle preferences, social compatibility, and communication styles. You know, we always say we make introductions, we don't make placements. We have a long application for, you know, a reason, and we hope folks get through it together, and then we really put meaningful matches where folks can, we look at making meaningful matches where folks can really get to know each other and have a meaningful relationship. We make the process easy and comfortable. We ensure that rooms are habitable. We manage room listings and field inquiries. We vet participants. We facilitate the development of the lease agreements and the signing of lease agreements. And we provide ongoing support throughout the time that folks are living at the unit. Finally, we create housing stocks, so providing support to older adults, families, and other vulnerable populations who have fears associated with having a stranger living in their homes makes home sharing a viable option. Basically, a lot of folks who may have been hesitant because they wouldn't have done it on their own, home sharing program can help be there to support them where they otherwise wouldn't have done it. So the home match process, this is the basic timeline. So in the case, and it is for both home provider and home seeker, in our parlance, a home provider would be the homeowner or master tenant, and home seeker is the potential tenant. So if a home provider was interested, then generally they would give us a call or an email, and we would send them an application. We can either email it to them, we can bring it in person, we can send it via mail. We're very flexible, and schedule a home visit. And then they can either fill out that application ahead of time, or we can fill it out together when we come to visit. And then on the home seeker side, it's similar. We send them that application. And after we get it back, then we schedule an intake. And then that case, in both cases, then we visit together to go over that application together. After they have been vetted, so the vetting includes on the seeker side, we do, on both sides, we do a background check. And the background check on the home provider side, it's criminal, civil, and then we also check for financial judgments. And then on the seeker side, additionally, we add in evictions. And then on the seeker side, we do also verify income and verify that they have a steady income that can pay the rent for the cost that they are looking for. Once a person has become an active participant, then we look for compatible matches based on their application. So lifestyle preferences, communication styles, location they're looking for, as well as prices. And then we make introductions. So we start by sharing the phone number. People can have phone calls, get to know each other that way. And then if they feel comfortable, have in-person meetings. If they decide they're interested in moving forward, then we would schedule a living together agreement meeting, where we would go over a lease agreement and craft it together. In this agreement, there are two parts. The first part is agreements on shared space, where we go over everything from expectations around cleaning, what temperature is the thermostat kept at, who's responsible for taking out the trash, can windows be left open when you're not at home? Like, it really thinks about just about everything so that we can really get that out on the front end. And then the second part is your kind of traditional lease agreement. And then the home provider gets to tailor that to what they're interested. Do they want it to be a term? Do they want it to be month to month? How much? What's the security deposit? All of that is tailorable within the agreement. And then we provide ongoing support throughout the match. So we do an initial check-in after move-in, and then we're always there, you know, a phone call away. If anything comes up, we can provide support mediation-wise, or we can also assist, you know, if there is need for move out, or if there's just need to change something in the future. There is also room for amendments within the lease. So if it's decided somewhere down the line that something wants to be changed or added, that is a possibility as well. So what's the timeline? It is highly variable based on the participants. With home visit or intake, it can be anywhere from 1 day to one week based on participant and staff availability. We are pretty flexible. I would say on the seeker side, it's about kind of how quickly they can get all their materials to us. And then same for the home visit side, we can definitely, you know, get it turned around within the week. We can be out there to visit the home easily. And then matching is really, it's about what your needs and interests are. Sometimes we have things turn around in a week where it's just like the stars align and there's that perfect person, they really like them, they move forward. And sometimes it can take quite a while to find that person that you feel the most comfortable with. Sometimes we make one introduction and that person's like, this is the person I want to go with. Sometimes we've made 6 introductions before that person is like, this is the person I want to go with. And I always stress that the number one thing is that you feel comfortable. You know, this is your home. You want to feel comfortable. On the home seeker side, you don't want to have to move again. On the home provider side, you want to make sure that you feel comfortable in your home. So we're always there to, you know, it's never a problem if you come back to us and say, I think I just want to, you know, continue on and go for another introduction. That's always totally fine. So yeah, introducing candidates, again, it's highly variable with the timeline. As soon as you do decide that both parties decide they're interested in moving in together, match agreement, again, anywhere from 1 day to a week. It doesn't really take much longer than that. It's really based on participants' availability. We you know, can make ourselves available very quickly to meet to do an agreement within the week. And then ongoing support, we're always there a phone call away if you need something. And you know, we strive to get back to you as quickly as possible. You know, we aren't an emergency service, we do say. So generally, you know, we are 9 to 5, 5 days a week. So that would be the one. Profile of successful participants. I would say number one thing for all participants is sort of an adaptability and openness to change. You know, the matching process helps so that people have a chance to get to know each other. Our application is quite extensive in terms of looking for compatibility, but you know, it is still a big change. And being able to be open to what that change entails when suddenly there are 2 people in a space or an additional person in a space is really important to be open to that. On the home provider side and on the home seeker side, healthy communication, making sure that you're open to that. But we do also even talk through that on the front end. What types of communication do you prefer? Are text messages okay? Is email okay? Does that bother you? Would you really prefer someone just talk to you in person or gave you a phone call? We really try to go through all of that ahead of time. And then we do also potentially have task exchanges, which we can talk a little bit more in the questions as well. So there are possibilities for task exchanges for home providers, where some of our home providers, typically older adults, but not always, are looking for extra help around the home, maybe taking out the trash, walking the dog, driving, doing errands, and we can help facilitate that. That is a maximum of 10 hours a week, because it can't be construed as an employment situation, and it is not anything medical. So it would be construed to things to do with help around the home. Sometimes we had folks who were handy people. I can give you an example, or people who wanted someone who could change light bulbs, bring in packages, maybe do very light yard work, things like this. Drive at night, pick up groceries, things like that. And that would be in exchange for lowered rent. And that would also be written out in the rental agreement. And then for home providers, again, with that thing, openness to change, adaptability. For home seekers, being able to be, I think on both sides, really, a supportive, stable housemate. So let's go to the next slide. And this is just a little match story. We had a home seeker who came out who got accepted to a special program out here, who was initially from out of state, and so didn't know anybody in the area, had a lower income, and finding a place on her own, especially when out of state, was really difficult. And wasn't sure if they were going to be able to do the school out here in Marin, and were able to find a space with her. The homeowner, older adult, who renting rooms allows her to be able to stay in her home and afford the property taxes, utilities, all of these things. And so that was just one of those success stories there. So that's a quote from her. And they are still currently matched, and she's finishing her programs. And that is just the basic, whirlwind overview of the program. I know I have a long list of questions that I got sent ahead of time, and the slides just again, so we are in the other counties. If you do apply as a home seeker to our program, you are also eligible for rooms in any of our other counties. So, and you don't have to do multiple applications. So if you applied and you decided you also wanted to look at rooms in the other counties, you would just have to let us know and notice on that, and we would connect you with those other county staff, and they can let you know about rooms there as well. And it's just one application for all of them. So with that, do you want me to go to that list of questions first, or should we take questions from you guys first?
We got a couple in from the audience here. This is Harvey. One of the questions.
Sharing, maybe, so we can just.
Yeah. One of the questions was, do you have data on what percentage of seekers and percentage of providers are over 60?
I do. So exact numbers, I have the exact numbers for Marin. I just ran them recently for last year. I don't have them in front of me. What I can say is that the average age of home provider last year was 71, and the average age of home seeker was 41. And that currently, I believe it was close to, it was 90% of, it was 96% of home providers were seniors, essentially only one home provider, or as for instance, right now, of our rooms, only one home provider is under 65. In terms of home seekers, it is more broad. So last year with the full spectrum, and we get a lot more home seekers applying than home providers. So last year the average age was 41.
Okay.
Hey, this is Gary. We have a question that came in. What is your average rent that the home providers charge?
It varies season to season, but and it depends on whether it's a room or a private unit. So the average cost of a room in Marin right now is around 1,200. We see that the ones that are the most that are easiest to fill are between 900 and 1,100. But we have seen an increase. So we don't set the prices. The home providers decide what price they need. So we have seen an increase in the room costs on the part of home providers. So we do see more rooms, 1,200 to 1,500. And those take longer to fill typically. But we do our best to fill those for folks. The ones that will fill the quickest and be easiest with the most applicants are going to be 900 to 1,100. So right now, I think actually the average with the more expensive rooms factoring in is going to be like 1,250. And then our ADUs and in-laws are kind of in a different category, so we take that average separately. And we have the full spectrum. So we have like little studio in-laws that are attached, that are like 120 to 200 square feet. And then we have like full, like separate, like basically little house, brand new ADUs. So there's like this full spectrum of, so those house ADUs, can be, 2,200. And then those smaller things can be more like, 15, 12 to 15. So we get a full spectrum.
Good, thank you. Now, what about the average time of the rental?
Of folks living there?
Correct.
Right now, I believe our average is about 13 months. That's taking into account many matches that are designed to be shorter term. So folks that are intentionally coming for shorter terms. So we have many matches that are many years. And then we have many matches that are purposefully designed to be shorter terms. Most of our matches end because folks find other options. Typically what happens in home sharing is on the younger side, it's a stepping stone to getting a higher paying job, to getting a place on their own. And on the older side, we see it as often a stepping stone to getting vouchers and getting into their own units as well. And then we do have as well many folks though where they're like, it's this affordable option that like to stay there for many years. So we kind of get the spectrum. So with all those into account, I believe last I checked, the average length is 13 months.
Great, thank you. Okay, Harvey, do you have a question?
Yes. Yeah, I had a question. So some cities, I know like Fairfax and others have rent control programs, and there's protection that people can't be evicted out of the room. And does your program have to comply with all the rent laws? And I would imagine you're probably a benefit because you can help manage problems before they really arise out of a rental situation.
Yeah. So first your answer is yes. Everybody has to comply with all of the rental laws. Benefit of our program is we're fully aware of all of them and up to date on all of them as they change, and not just on the state, but like in Marin, they're constantly changing town to town. So like Larkspur's passing something new, Fairfax just passed something. So it's not just on a state or a county level, it's really on a municipal level. And we're keenly aware of it, and we're working with policymakers step by step. So we're pretty aware. And if something comes up and we don't know, we also have a team where we can find out immediately for you. sorry, let me follow up with that. So in terms of things, and I think this leads into, a question I saw before. So yes, you do have to follow the laws and the local ordinances, in terms of rental controls, like how much you can raise rents annually, and also in terms of evictions. It is variable, based on where you're living, what that looks like. It is typically under 12 months with a month-to-month lease, would be a 30 days notice. And then after that, there would have to be just cause for no faults. And we're happy to help, direct people to information for that. That's typically how it looks, again, for month-to-month leases. And we do help to guide people to more resources for that and help facilitate the process there for them. And one huge thing we do is that a lot of folks are doing this on their own, and we can be there to just be a supportive person to be there with them. And help guide them to the resources and be a supportive presence, on both the home provider side and the seeker side. So help facilitating on the front end to make meaningful connections, and then be there throughout the process if and when things do go towards a move out on the back end as well.
Great, great.
Very good.
I've got couple of questions that have come in directly to me here. Is the program open to undocumented individuals?
We're open to everyone. We do background checks, and we do have a process, and we do income verification. So we do have many ways that we can do that, and we do have a way where we can do background checks without a social security number, and we have many different ways that we can do income verification.
Okay.
So it is required to do a background check, and it is required to do income verification. But like, for instance, we have worked with asylum seekers before, and we have found ways to do the income verification and the background check.
Okay, we're having a little trouble hearing you again. So just be aware.
So I said, so what is required for our program is to do income verification and a background check. But for example, we have worked with asylum seekers before who didn't have a social security number and didn't have a bank account, and we were able to do both the background check and the income verification. So
excellent.
We can find ways to make it work.
Great. I think
good. Thank you.
A question here from the audience too, if Nancy wants to unmute.
Yes, you said that you received a lot of questions ahead of time. And I believe so far we've just answered questions from the audience, and I'd like to hear your response to the questions that were presented over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I have them open.
Well, Gary, if you have those, you can.
I have those in front of me. Let me go down the list.
I know I've heard some of them already.
Yes. Not to worry. I'll go down. We had these questions come in with the RSVPs on signing up for this spotlight. So it's great. Now, here's one question. Okay, right at the top. I currently live in Florida. That's the questioner. And I'm planning to move to Marin County. I need a place. And I have a dog. I'm 79 and I have a small dog. Can you help me?
We can definitely talk. It's definitely a profile of a program participant. So
okay.
We would love to share our contact information. To be completely honest, it can take a little bit more time to place folks with pets. That's something that can be harder. But we have definitely placed people with pets before. So it is possible, but I want to be completely honest there and say that takes more time, just like with any rental unit. But even more so in home sharing, it can be harder when you have a pet.
Gotcha. Now, this questioner was out of the state, from Florida. Do you take people that are out
Yeah.
of state? Good.
Yeah.
And then coming into town. This is probably fairly common.
Yeah.
Moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very common, actually. We get a lot of folks who are actually, what is very even more common is folks who moved out of state, who lived in Marin before, especially seniors often, who want to move back.
Got it. That's hard. It's hard to move back. I know. Now, what about, you talk about a seeker is the person looking for a room, and the provider is the person with a room. Now, can a provider, a person with a home, use your service to look for a live-in caregiver? How do you define services that your seeker can provide?
No, is the short answer.
Okay.
So we don't match folks with caregivers. So anything to do with medical services, whether that be help getting in and out of bed, using the bathroom, getting dressed, things like that. So task exchange can be help, around the home, whether it could be cleaning, it could even be cooking. But anything that is the level of caregiving would have to be separate. So they would need a separate caregiver for that.
All right. And that goes for medical as well as any disability.
Anything that's medical related.
Exactly.
But for instance, we've had folks who have had caregivers separate, but still had they were still ended up getting a tenant through us who had a task exchange and did other things around them.
I see. Good. Good. Okay. Harvey, do you have anything, other questions?
Well, we have Paige has her hand up here. If she wants to.
Good. Go ahead, Paige.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the cost of the service, because you didn't mention that. It sounds like you guys are providing a lot of services and ongoing support. So can you explain what that is for the people who are looking for people to move in?
Apologies, I missed that stuff. It's no cost to any program participants. So we get funding. About 50% of our funding comes from our parent company, Front Porch. And then the rest of our funding comes from a variety of sources here in Marin County. Each county is a little bit different. So our current funders in Marin County Health and Human Services, Marin Community Foundation. We also got funding from the Marin
Voice dropped off a little bit.
Marin Community Development Agency, so Marin Community Foundation, and Marin Health and Human Services. So we get a variety of different funding sources. And then we have also been, the city of Mill Valley has been a great partner and given us funding. And then we have also recently gotten funding to do a shallow rent subsidy pilot program in Mill Valley from the Community Housing Foundation Mill Valley, which is an exciting program as well. So
Great.
we get funding from a variety of different sources that help us to keep the program at no cost to both the home provider and the home seekers.
Amazing. That's quite a service. And I had one other additional question, which is, you mentioned the bottom end of the rent was something like 900. Is that the thing about the 10 hours, is that is fixed no matter what, even if you reduce the price?
No. So rooms with task exchanges are often lower than that. And the number of hours is highly variable. That's all set by the home provider. 10 hours is the max. But for instance, we've also had many home providers who didn't have a financial need but wanted the social connection. They're often folks who are getting older, and just having that someone around in the home is important to them and or important to their family members. And so, for instance, many of them choose to rent the room at, say, $500 a month, and even have a much more limited task exchange of 5 hours or less a week. So in those cases, especially when there's no financial need, it's often even much lower. But those are more rare. We had a lot more of them pre-COVID, actually. And then we are seeing in general a rise in the number of rooms that are really much more of a financial need. However, we have seen a little bit of a trend back towards some more with task exchanges. So it's a little bit of a wave happening.
Yeah.
So we do semi-regularly get those like $500 ones where it's clearly it's not a financial need, it's more of a task exchange or social connection. The number of hours is highly variable based on home provider needs. It's just a max of 10 hours.
So when you said some people who just want the social contact might rent the room for very little, like 500, but by bringing the rent down, like say a room that was worth 1,000, bringing it down by half, doesn't mean you can change the number of hours of help up. It has to cap at 10, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Very good. All right. I have one question left over from this list. A two-part question. Do you need special zoning? Does the provider need to have special zoning to be able to rent out the room?
I guess I'm not sure what the meant by zoning.
Okay.
But generally, no. I mean, there are different rules about like building, especially in terms of like ADUs and in-laws.
So you haven't had any problems with zoning issues? No. My thinking is, and I'm not a professional, it's like if the person is living there, it's zoned for residential or zoned for living.
Yeah, I mean, so zoning is to do exactly. If it's residential, it's residential. Zoning is more to do with my understanding.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying my understanding. It's already based on the number of rooms and the number of units there already. So that would be what is there. And then we do in our home visits, we are looking for certain things to make sure that ensuring that it's habitable. So we're looking for things like, for instance, a room to qualify. It needs to have, a door that's, fully sealing, a closet, a smoke detector, etc., access to a bathroom that's inside the home. For instance, example, like we have someone, I have a cabin, but there's no bathroom inside the building. Like, oh, that doesn't qualify. Or I want to rent out my living room. No, it needs to be its own room, things like that. So, those type of things we're looking for.
That's great.
And then we do have some readiness support for home providers. So we can offer some support there. So say we do a home visit and there's some little things like I have an in-law unit, but the lock on the door is broken. We can possibly provide a little support to fix that. Or I don't have a heat source in this room. Maybe we can help to support a little bit there, like getting a baseboard heater, something like that, if there's a financial need to get the room ready.
Good, thank you.
We do have one question that I was also wondering about too, is when we're talking about zoning, sometimes HOAs have restrictions on renting out rooms. So in condos, there may be some restrictions that are there. So I would imagine you'd have to also look at the HOA rules for a community development then.
Our application does ask whether you have an HOA, and we do ask that you definitely, if you have an HOA and or you're a master tenant and you have a property management company, we do ask that you do pursue that information. And we do also are happy to help with that. Like some folks have kind of struggled with that communication, and I've actually helped to facilitate that and called them myself. But sometimes it's good to start that process first and see where that's at. And so those questions are in the application to make sure that you check in there. In the cases of HOAs and property managers, it's really important that you know that on the front end, so then you don't go through the whole process and find something and then find out on the back end there's all these other stipulations.
Right, right.
Good point. Good point. Now, what about special homeowners insurance? Have you run up against any insurance issues?
So we don't provide recommendations for insurance, but we do, recommend that you get it. And our homeowners have not, in my experience, had issues. In my experience, I've come in and they've been like, I've already talked to my insurance, we're good to go. So that's my personal experience there. So the first step is we always just recommend you call your insurance and let them know. And then in my experience here in Marin, I haven't had anybody call me with an issue.
Great. Thank you.
Paige has her hand up there, Gary.
Okay, go ahead, Paige, again.
Yes, I was wondering if cooking is considered caregiving or task.
It can be a task exchange.
Okay. And the other question was, now I noticed you have a services in Alameda County also. So I'm wondering, is it only, I know an elderly couple who was just mentioning that they're feeling too isolated. And I was wondering, do you only do the home exchange, or is there also some provision for any kind of visits to elders without a room rent,
We don't do that. But I think a great place to start would be connecting them with our connection programs.
Mhm.
Social call and well connected. There's also opportunities through Market Day to get more connected with the community as well.
Okay. So those are three different companies that are like your partner companies?
Yeah, they're more like they're sister organizations under Front Porch Community Services.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. I had one other last question is I'm looking for someone to move in with my mother who's 84 or something like that. But right now my sister and I go and visit her and bring the kids sometimes. And so she's got a lot of rooms in her house. So it's not like there's a shortage of space. But if we got someone to move into one of the rooms, if other family members come and visit occasionally and like sleep over, is that okay?
Oh, it's super normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had that exact scenario many times.
Okay. So. Thank you.
The important thing for us is to lay everything out ahead of time. That's why our living together agreement is so extensive. That's why, especially in like the scenario you're describing, we really recommend folks to meet multiple times and chat and sort of discuss the living situation. So it's just we find it's like the more that things aren't a surprise, then the more it's like feels comfortable, and like when they have a sense of the home. And some folks are actually gonna be like, I love that. I love kids. I love that family feeling. And it's if that folks are gonna be in and out from time to time, then it doesn't feel like a surprise and it actually feels like a homey feeling. And they're aware of it and they decided on it. Maybe it made sense for them based on the location and the price. And I think in my experience, it's when things are like feel like a burden or a surprise later on, or there wasn't good communication. Even if it was something that was changed later, like say you hadn't discussed that ahead of time, but then things maybe changed a little bit with your mother's health and it was decided that a family member needed to stay there more often, but the family member just started staying there without any communication. That might feel different than if somebody came and said, hey, look, this is what's going on, so we think it would be best, if Paige stayed, 2 or 3 nights a week in the other room based on this. I really appreciate your understanding, versus if, Paige just started showing up and nobody talked to them. Right. So it's
Yeah.
all about open communication, I think, is the key.
Thank you.
Very good. Now, what about shared facilities? In the home environment, this person is renting a secure room. Does your contract go into what areas of the house are shared, considered shared, and what parts are not?
Yes. Is a short answer. It has a whole section on what areas and what items are to be shared and what aren't.
Good, good. Because that can be a real issue. My relatives have shared rooms, and that's always a point of contention if it's not up front.
Yeah. And then we share a sample ahead of time because it is quite long. And I think, especially on the home provider side, it's good to review it because they haven't maybe thought of those things ahead of time. And then it's better to kind of think through it ahead of time than to be sitting there and be like, well, what do I not want to share while the other person's sitting there, versus having thought about it a little bit ahead of time, so you kind of have it ready in the wings.
Perfect. Good. Any further questions from the audience? Harvey, do you see any coming through?
No, I haven't seen anything that hasn't been answered already.
This has been very complete. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank-
Where do you promote your service, by the way?
We do a lot of outreach through all different avenues. So where do we promote? We've done advertising in papers, we do emails, we do flyering, we do a lot of presentations. I think a lot of it is outreach to different organizations and groups, and then doing presentations like these, talking to folks on the street, going to conferences, going to events. And then I find one of the best things is if we can talk to a room of folks like y'all, and then you guys, can spread the word. There's nothing like a word of mouth a referral, really, in my opinion. So many of my calls were like, I heard from a friend or a neighbor about your service. So the more, I can talk to individuals, the better, in my opinion.
Good.
Yeah.
So if people are interested more in understanding what you're doing, they can get a group together and ask you to make a presentation to them.
Yeah, we would love that. Yeah.
That works.
We can do that in person or on Zoom. And so I handle inquiries for the home provider side. And I would be happy for you to share, my phone number with folks who might be interested, home providers. And then Joey, who's here, is our home manager,
Okay.
and he fields all the inquiries for home seekers. So we will share both our phone numbers and emails. And then we'll note that, and then you'll have them both. And then if somebody accidentally calls either of us, we're in the same office right now, so we can always point to the right person.
Yeah.
But
Very good.
we find having the direct lines is always helpful. We do, we have our main line that goes to our intake specialist, but you don't hesitate to share our direct phone numbers.
Now, we have your email up on the chat. Could you give us your direct phone number?
Yeah, I'll put mine in, and then
in the chat. Yeah.
drop yours in.
Great. Yeah, and I know Paige has her hand up here. We'll give you a moment to get your phone number in there. And also, I was wondering too, on the vein of outreach
that was a direct.
communication, do you guys really seek out and look through the local next door feeds? Because there seems like there's a lot of discussion that goes on quite frequently about people needing rooms, and that seems like that'd be a good place to do outreach anyway, from my point of view.
Next door, we're on there. Well, we have a couple different accounts. Next door is a little tough because it's so area based and you can only be exactly where an address is. So the more that we kind of can pool different people who live in different places, the better. And then just so you know, in terms of where we typically post a little bit about how we advertise rooms, we have our rooms catalog that we put on our website, we share with partners. We also typically post rooms on Roomies, which is a home sharing service. We do post on Craigslist, and we curate that. And then we do occasionally post on Zillow, sometimes on Facebook Marketplace. And then sometimes home providers, because they have a next door with their address, so they have an account in that area, sometimes they also choose to post on Nextdoor as well.
Great. So I see your phone number here. This is perfect. Thank you.
Okay,
Up on chat.
and Paige.
And Joyce, go ahead.
It looks like I couldn't share it directly to everybody. It was just to you, Gary. So if you can share that out with folks.
Yeah, is there a special website for Home Match Marin, or is it all through the main Home Match website?
There's the main frontporch.net/home match.
By show match, yeah.
Okay, I put the link a couple of times in the chat for the main website also.
I
And-
think, yeah, that one's our old link actually.
Oh, is that right? That's the one that comes up on the internet search.
Yeah, we're working on it. That also goes to the main community services, not direct. So let me put in.
Yeah,
So just so you know, our old name was Covia, so that will come up from time to time. And then we merged with Front Porch. So basically, Covia operated senior communities in Northern California, and Front Porch did in Southern California. And then we merged, and it was the official name change, and everything happened April 2022, I believe.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put up the more current address then. I'm sorry. I had it
No,
before,
but it's good to know. So folks, sometimes you might still see Covia in places, and that's still us.
yeah,
Good.
because that's what I came up with in my search here.
Yeah, they're both on. This is great. Okay, Paige, you have a question.
Yeah, my question was if we know someone who would basically need to hear this whole webinar, is there another one scheduled anytime soon?
I believe that Gary, you guys are going to be uploading this.
Yeah.
Okay, what we do on this page, good segue, thank you. What happens is we post all of our Spotlight Presents videos on our website, which is escom.marin.edu, so that you can find all of these in it's a YouTube format, so you can watch them from our website.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
And I still don't see the Lucy's phone number on the chat. Is it up there now?
Lucy, go ahead.
I'm only able to send it directly to Gary. I couldn't send it to everyone.
Oh, Gary,
Well, that's why. Let me read it out. It's 415
Okay.
521 8541.
Great.
That's great. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you so much, Lucy.
Thank
We've
you
had
all.
some great questions, and as usual, a lot of important, critical, and very informative details have come out in Q&A.
That's my favorite part.
It is mine too, because we had some great questions going in, and a lot as we were in here, and you answered them all. Thank you so much.
yes, and
No
thanks
problem.
everyone who's attended here today.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording.